Hey everybody, it's the Montessori monster, and in this video we're going to be talking about three of the biggies as far as parenting. So there are three big things. Of course, a lot more goes into parenting than just these three things, but these three are three of the biggest, maybe the biggest. So structure, one being structure, two being consistency, and three being trust. Let's talk about them. So structure. It's really important that children feel some sense of structure. That doesn't mean that there has to be a rigid routine or anything like that, but some sort of structure within their day that they can feel is safe and reliable. Because until a child is safe, feels safe and reliable, they won't sort of begin to feel safe to express themselves or to sort of push the boundaries of what they're comfortable with in life and try new things and work hard and challenge themselves. They have to feel that sort of safety and security of somewhat of a structure in their lives. So when they're very young, toddlers and that sort of thing, that structure is quite tangible. It's very much the time of day and bedtime and when you're eating and things like that. But as they get older, you want them to be developing skills to be flexible. You don't want them to be rigid with their schedule. You want them to know how to make a schedule, but then have flexibility within it. And so having that structure is super important for children and people of all ages. But for children, they just really need it. They can't function well without it, because if they have a fear of what's happening next or how long do I have until this all the time, they become reserved and held back. They don't feel safe to try to push things out a little bit. So, to a young child, they don't know whether they have 2 hours until dinner or 2 minutes until dinner. Again, some of that flexibility is important, but overall, they should have some idea of what they're doing in their day. So I recommend, and I think a lot of parents do this to some degree, but having a little bit of a meeting before bedtime at night. What are we doing tomorrow? What's the basic plan? What would you like to do? What are you needing? What are your needs? Ask the child these things. Maybe not a very young child, maybe not a 2 or 3-year-old too much, but most other children you can talk to them pretty frankly and directly and sort of work on that structure together. Make it feel like a teamwork sort of thing, and they'll respect you for it. The second one that I want to mention is consistency. So expectations need to be consistent. What do you mean by clean your room? Or what do you mean by help me in the yard or do the dishes? You have to kind of define these things to a child. Those things are not automatic. Well, in fact, that you kind of need to do that with adults usually too. What do you mean by those things is really important. And then being consistent, sticking with it. If you show a child how to load the dishwasher a certain way, you have to assume and put some level of trust that they're trying to do that. They're not going to get it right all the time, but you want to support them trying. It's more important that they're trying, and maybe they occasionally melt something in the dishwasher. That's better than them not trying. You want a child to be trying things, to be comfortable with mistakes, to have a growth mindset. You don't want to shut them down by criticizing everything they do or having them feel like they're sort of under a lens all the time. So be consistent with your expectations and what it is that you're wanting from the child. They generally are great, and a child will generally want to please their parents if they know how to. If you can be consistent with things like chores or routine for getting to school and things like that, it makes their life a lot easier for sure. Also, your life is becomes a lot easier if you have that sort of consistency. Also what you're expecting from them. So, like most things in life, direct and clear communication is key there. And then the third major thing is trust. Of course, children generally trust their parents Um, they generally want to trust their teachers. But you have to work at that. You have to continuously sort of show that they can trust you. In that sense, you have to be reliable. Now, it doesn't mean life doesn't throw a curveball sometimes and you have to change schedule or you can't make their soccer practice or something like that when you thought you would. Um, it means that they trust that you are trying to do what you're saying you're doing. And and once they have that trust, kind of like with structure and consistency, they can feel more safe, sort of self assured and confident. They can embrace the idea of the growth mindset, that they can put themselves out there and go for things. So, trust is something that is built over time. It is not generally assumed right away. So it takes a while sometimes. You spend so much time with your own children. Usually that feels like it can kind of build pretty quickly. But if we're talking about a student of yours who's young, that can take some time. They need to kind of get to know you and you them, and it takes some time to have that trust, that feeling of trust. But then, wow, it's a wonderful thing. Once a child in an educational setting trusts the adults, they really can start to flourish and excel with their social and academic skills because they feel like somebody's looking out for them, somebody's on their side and trying their best to support them. Again, it doesn't mean that as a teacher or parent that you don't make mistakes. Of course we all do. They need to trust that your intentions are good. That's the key, that you're trying, that your intentions are good, you care about them and that you're looking out for them. That's what's really important. So if you kind of filter a lot of the challenges of parenting and teaching through a couple of those things, those three things, generally you come out on the other side of them with a pretty good perspective on how to proceed, how to go on with things and how to support a child. So having structure, consistency, and trust, those three things will get you a long way in supporting and sort of nurturing children. So that's kind of a quick rundown. I hope we make more videos about more of the details behind those things and what they look like with more examples and that sort of thing. But that's a rough overview of those three big helpful ways to guide your parenting and or teaching. Hope you appreciate this kind of content. Please do subscribe and like the videos. We appreciate all the support. It's great that we can share this community. All right. Thank you, everybody.